Hi everybody, this is Jackie Luqman.
And I'm at the Shahi Luqman.
And this is Luqman Nation live at 5 at 6 p.m. today here on Coffee, Current Events, and Politics and Luqman Nation. Yeah, we are pretty tuckered out from yesterday from the climate march. We did a lot. Let me grab my phone to make sure that everything is copacetic. You guys can hear, and I've got Ab behind me manning the switchboard, manning the comments, so you guys let us know that you can hear, that you can see, that everything is copacetic, because we gotta have a really serious conversation about well-meaning white liberals and progressives and the reason we can't get along, some of us, in this progressive movement. So, let us know that you can hear, and we're going to get right into this thing. Because, there is no time to waste. Let me turn that down. Oh. All right, so obviously yesterday that we participated in the climate march. Thank you, Keir. We participated in the climate march, and forgive my shininess, y'all, but it's a little humid here in D.C. For those of you who came out to D.C., I hope those of you who came into the city from out of town, from several states away, we hope you all got home safely. We thank you all for coming out for what everybody is saying is the largest climate march that we've ever had, that has ever existed, because it wasn't just a big showing in D.C., it was also around the world, around the country and around the world, and that's fabulous and wonderful. But I don't know if you watched some of our live streams yesterday, but one of the things that annoyed me, not just me, one of the things that annoyed Abdus, because he actually heard it first. And I was streaming, doing streaming, and he called me over and said, Jackie, you're not gonna believe what I just heard some guy say. So I was trying to capture the Black Lives Matter activists at the beginning, in the front section, excuse me, of the march. There was a big section at the front of the march, and the Black Lives Matter activists were at the front in that front section, and they were chanting Black Lives Matter. So I'm going to let Abdus tell you the rest of the story, because I'm getting all upset.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Make sure that you do, make sure that if you haven't liked our page, like the page, notifications, so you know when the next show will be. And I'm still trying to get used to this, because guys, look, I'm looking at her monitor and trying to, I'm still an amateur at this. But anyway, let's get back to
don't look at yourself.
Don't look at myself, right? Okay. All right, let's go back to what Jackie had said about what I observed yesterday at the climate march. Yesterday, there were, Black Lives Matter activists who were doing their little demonstration, nice demonstration that I thought, and basically just calling, basically stressing their message that Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Well, I was standing with some people on the side watching it, and as soon as they said that, Black Lives Matter, they did the chant, then the guy next to me, in his hippie attire, said, "Oh, that's bullshit. All lives matter. That's so much bullshit. All lives matter." And it just once again, just really tore me up, because I'm saying, here we are out here, talking about saving planet Earth, and knowing that this is the only planet. I see signs that said there's no planet B and all this other kind of stuff. We got that message, mm-hmm. But somehow many of us haven't gotten the message yet that Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that all lives don't matter, or doesn't matter, don't matter. So it's like, how could you remain clueless? And then we started having fun on the side, talking about, that'd be all the same if we sat out here on Climate March Day, talking about saving the planet Earth, and we say, no, the Earth matters. No, all planets matter. You see how ridiculous that sounds. Like all planets matter. No, the universe matters. Asteroids matter too. So you see how ridiculous that sounds, man. So I mean, and it also goes back to this whole thing within the progressive movement that really bugs the shit out of me. We can all come together when it comes to important issues like, the climate march, which, of course, we all depend on the ecosystems of our planet. For all of us, this is not a partisan thing, not a black and white thing. I mean, the planet is the only thing that we have that supports us. But, we can come all together on that. But then once again, man, it seems like this polarization within the progressive movement, man, still exists, and I believe that that's one of the reasons why we have been really, really slow in the progressive movement of gaining any traction amongst, other people. I don't know, Jack, but that's what it seems to me.
Well, I agree. I mean, it's like we've said it before, and maybe we haven't been explicit enough in what we mean when we say we need to kind of lay off. And I'm not saying don't be passionate about the specific issues that you are passionate about. I understand that there are people who are passionate about vegetarianism and veganism, but if everybody stopped eating meat today, we are still going to be facing the serious problems of not just climate change, but imperialism and neoliberalism that contribute to all of those things, that have caused those things. So, I mean, it's like, so we're out here at this march and we're thinking we're all these progressive and at least liberal-minded people who believe that we all have to come together and fight for a better, improved ecosystem and climate and planet to protect the planet, because it's not us saving the planet. When we destroy ourselves, guess what's still going to be here? The planet. So we're really fighting for our own lives. But because we've got these dumbass divisions, we still fight amongst each other over what I believe is just really some silly stuff. Like, this guy with the all lives matter stuff. There were maybe 200,000 people. This is what the media says. And I know, I'm going to apologize. I think I should apologize right now. This is my disclaimer before we get any further into this discussion. I'm going to cuss. I'm going to cuss some today. I pray that my daddy don't watch. I did invite my brother, so he's probably going to tell on me. But he cusses too, so what is he going to say? So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to cuss. I'm going to be mad. My feelings are a little hurt because, see, this is personal for us. Right? This isn't just, we haven't been able, because we both work and because we have obligations and we got family stuff going on, and we are a married couple. And look, marriage is not hard. Marriage isn't easy all the time. So we've got all that regular stuff going on. And then on top of that, when we got married 4 years ago, we brought with us each of our separate political and social activism. And we're dealing with all of that. So, we're not like, we're not even going to lie. We're not 24/7 activists. We'd lose our damn minds if we were.
Yeah, you got the energy for it.
We don't have nobody. And honestly, nobody alive has the energy for 24/7 activism. Even Malcolm had to chill and have a good time with his wife and his kids. Even Martin had to chill and have a good time with his wife and his kids. Fannie Lou Hamer couldn't get out there and rabble-rouse and give rousing speeches all the time. She had to chill too. This whole idea of activist self-care, that ain't new. Activists throughout the history of activism have always known that you cannot give 100% 24/7 to the cause, because you'll die. You'll die quickly. So we're not sitting here saying that we have all of the answers. What we're talking about today are some of the things that we see in the progressive movement that bother us, that make it clear to us why we can't get anywhere. And so, this is stuff that we have personally experienced. We're not going to talk today about things that we've heard other people say about other groups of people. And I am not into naming names, so please don't think I'm about to do that. But we are going to talk to you about the experiences that we have had over the past 3 or 4 years in the progressive movement that makes it really, really clear why we can't get anywhere. And this guy's comment yesterday about all lives matter, that's one of those things. There are still vestiges within the progressive movement among well-meaning white liberals who still have a hard time with the idea of black people advocating vociferously, forcefully, fervently for themselves. Some of y'all still have that problem. None of you on this stream, I'm sure. As a matter of fact, I see y'all on this stream, so I know that you all on this stream don't. But you all know some people in your circles who still have a problem with Black Lives Matter, who still, well, if they would just do this, if they would just do that. Listen, it's your job to shut that stuff up. I mean, yesterday, my husband was there, and y'all know my husband. He's not shy about expressing how he feels. And most of the time, he's a lot more diplomatic than I am. So, he had words with the guy and explained to him, no, listen, what they mean is Black Lives Matter also. What we mean is Black Lives Matter too. We're not saying that other lives don't matter. It's just that because of imperialism and colonialism and racism, because we've had to live through those systems, we have been taught that Black Lives Matter less. So now here we are in 2017, still having to stand up and advocate for our lives. And as Abdus was talking to me about what this guy said yesterday, then I was standing next to our friend Pete, who, incidentally enough, I don't think it's incidental, I don't think it's coincidental, who is a gay white man. So he understands that there is struggle inherent in who he is, in advocating for his humanity too. He gets it. And the part of the conversation you hear that we're having is Pete explaining that the people in places like the poor black people in places like Hampton Roads, right, and Norfolk, Virginia, low-lying tidal areas, when the oceans rise, you think those poor black people are going to be able to move out of that area? So they are on the front lines of the climate crisis. And it's also true globally that Africa is on the front line of the global climate crisis. Africa contributes the least to the climate crisis, and they have already begun to see impacts. Mm-hmm. I mean, years ago, I'm not talking about like last year. No, 5-7 years ago, Africa began to suffer from the results, the damage of climate issues. So black people in the world are on the front lines of the climate crisis, but we still can't say Black Lives Matter without offending some liberal white people.
Well, let's not to mention when we were speaking about since we're dealing with climate, we're dealing with pollution and all these other things that affect mostly poor people, and those poor people are mostly people of color for the most part. We don't even have to travel to the Marshall Islands. We don't have to travel to Africa and the Caribbean and places like that to see the damaging effects of climate change on people of color. All we have to do is just look in the good old United States of America and see that some of the statistics are very, very scary when it talks about 95% of black people live like within 25 miles of a nuclear power station, or most of the dirty energy infrastructure is in black neighborhoods. I mean, right here in Southwest DC, they're building like the biggest power plant in DC right now, in Southwest DC, which is right near the National Stadium. And I worked on that site, so I know about it. And it's like, I mean, you have a cement plant there, which is kicking out dust particles from rocks and gravel, and right around the corner from that are apartment projects, which mostly where black people live in. This area has one of the highest rates of asthma, has the highest rates of other respiratory illnesses, and I mean, they're like surrounded by all of these polluters. I mean, you go down to the 295 corridor, and you see on either side of the highway, people living in apartment projects, but yet they have to breathe in all of this exhaust because they're not worth putting up sound walls for. You go in more wealthier communities, and let's look. let's be honest. I mean, pollution is not just what you breathe in. It's not. I mean, it's also noise. You know, I mean, pollution. You know, have noise pollution. I mean, I used to live up near New York City, where Bloomberg had a noise ordinance. You know, you couldn't honk your horn so many times. I mean, you could. I mean, they had, because they realized that it was a quality of life issue. So when we start talking about going up and down the 295 corridor, and you have people, and everybody know how the traffic is in D.C., and you have people who are just living there, breathing in and day night, children breathing in day in and night, you know, exhaust fumes and stuff from the congestion. And you know, this is just a side note. I have to say this. What the fuck is wrong with you people not liking Metro, man? I'm from New Jersey. All we had was Jersey Transit.
Jersey Transit is the devil.
Jersey Transit, that's all we got. And if you lived in Jersey, man, you would love the Metro, even when Metro ain't 100%. I mean, Jersey trains will come late and nobody apologized to you. You just got to catch the damn train, or that's it. I mean, we got buses, man, that just don't show up, and nobody comes and say we're sorry. I don't get it, man. I mean, I come down to D.C. and I'm saying, what the hell is wrong with these people? I understand Metro is not 100% or not what you like, but you people are spoiled down here. Live in Jersey. Live in parts of Pennsylvania like I lived in. Live in upstate New York. I used to live in Utica. Utica, New York. I mean, you know, go to some of them places, man. You will love the Metro. And I kind of think, man, that we're going to have to, down in this area, I think that they're going to have to be some way that this area has to redesign how they do the transportation system down here, man. Because we're not going to survive, man. You have, from the last estimates, you have like what was it, Jackie? Like 10,000,
what, 10,000 a month?
10,000 people.
Yeah, 10,000 people a month moving into the
DMV area,
Metro,
right.
Yeah, DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. I mean, he is absolutely right. But you know, Abdus is from Camden, New Jersey, and when I met him, he was living in Patterson, and I remember taking the train. I lived in DC since I was like 5 or 6. And we haven't always had Metro. I remember Metro buses and having to catch the A bus to the 30 bus and having to ride like an hour and a half from Southeast DC up to Georgetown to go to the nice movie theater. So when Metro came along, it was like, oh my God, this is great. So yeah, the Metro's service has deteriorated some, but that is because nobody expected the influx of residents in this city, into this area, that has occurred in the past 10 years. 10,000 people a month on average move into the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, the DMV. That's what we call this area here. And most of those people do not live in the city. Most of those people move out into the suburbs, into the Maryland and Virginia suburbs. And here's what they do. Here's what they do, y'all. But now my DC is coming out, because we have an accent. Nobody just knows that. It's just that nobody knows exactly what it is, where it comes from. But here's what they do when they move into the DMV area.
Area.
They all drive. Everybody drives. Traffic, rush hour 4 or 5 years ago was seriously from like 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., maybe 5 or 6 in the evening. Now, rush hour starts at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it extends until 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
Every day, every major highway in and out of this city. And because the congressmen live in Maryland and Virginia, DC can never get tolls. See, because if you don't live in this area, but you bring your behind into our city, work in this area, get a nice fat paycheck from all the government agencies and the contractors that and the lobbying firms that have all of these jobs, because the DC area job market has been the most stable throughout the recession. More stable than almost anywhere else in the country, except for maybe Silicon Valley, maybe. So you got all these people coming out here for jobs, but they live in the outlying areas from the city, and they commute in their fancy cars into the city every single day. They don't pay tolls because the congressmen and the senators also live out in the suburbs. They don't want to pay tolls. So what does DC do? To make money, DC installs speed cameras and makes billions of dollars off of not just people who come into the city, but residents too. And then they turn around and say that we have so much money, we don't know what to do with it, but they're not repairing the roads. They're not putting the money into our public school system. DC residents aren't getting squat back from the money that we've paid in tolls. We can't even get legislation passed that our Ward 8 council member, Trayon White, who we voted for, who we supported, he introduced a legislation that would keep the DC Department of Motor Vehicles from doubling speed camera fines for DC residents, which makes sense because the highest percentage of traffic and speeding tickets that are issued to residents of the poorest areas of this city, predominantly black. So Trayon White said, okay, keep the fine, keep the original fine, but don't let it double, because the way it works here in DC is the fine doubles after 30 days. Well, if you poor and you just happen to have been caught by a speed camera, and I used to be one of those people who would say, well, you wouldn't get caught by a speed camera if you weren't speeding. Yes, I was. I was one of those respectability moms, those respectability women. If you would just behave yourself, then the system would have no reason to come after you, until I got like 5 speeding tickets, 3 of which I know were bull.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know I have a lead foot, but come on.
I mean, but the fact that the tickets themselves, the fines are just, I mean, the fines are enormous to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a speeding ticket, man, starting off at $100.
Right. We're going 10 miles over in any zone. That's a $7,500 ticket. And if you don't pay that ticket in 30 days, it automatically doubles. So now you have the $75 ticket that you couldn't afford to pay just yet. You didn't save up enough money to pay it. And now it has doubled. Now it's $150. Well, you damn sure don't have that. So when I let me loop back around. So when I visited, and I complained about Metro too, because the service has degraded over time, because so many people have moved into this area, and the Maryland and Virginia governments don't want to put in more money to increase Metro's budget. So Metro is always having to increase their fares, and of course that pisses riders off. Well, how are you going to tell me you keep raising the fares, but the escalators never work? Well, it actually turned out that the escalators never work because of our messed up DC snobbish ass culture. When we tell people who come into the city who take the Metro, you have to stand on the right side of the escalator and let people walk up on the left side. Well, when you have that many people during rush hour on an escalator, it causes an imbalance, and that's what breaks the escalators. But we're so snobbish here, we ain't gonna never change that, because we just like doing things our way, and that's just all there is to it. So we just have this whole messed up situation where DC residents are getting the shaft out of our public transportation system, out of our transportation department. The roads suck here. I mean, but we're not getting any help because residents from Maryland and Virginia don't want to pay tolls, and the Maryland and Virginia governments don't want to put more money into the budget for Metro. So we're just left with high fares for a system, a public transportation system that we're not happy with. But like Abda said, go to Jersey and catch the train.
Please.
The first time I went to visit him, and I didn't drive, because I used to drive. He would come down to visit me one weekend, and then 2 weekends later I would go up to visit him. We would rotate. So I would, at first I would drive, and he was like, the drive is too long, because it was 4 hours, and I'm worried about you. So look, I need you to catch the train. And I'm like, okay, I'll catch the train, but I'm fine, but all right. So I catch the train. And then actually I caught the megabus, because we're also cheap. We're also really, really cheap. So look, it's got wheels and it can get us from one state to another. That's cool with us. So I catch the megabus to Penn Station in New York. I get off at Penn Station and I get onto the train. And Penn Station was fine. That was cool. But then I take Penn Station to the Patterson Station in New Jersey. And I get off the platform in Patterson. And I'm like, it was like 1965. I'm serious. The train platform looked like it was something out of 1965, because I swear that was probably the last time they updated that place.
And like everybody in Patterson urinated there.
It just, I mean, there used to be a time in D.C. when the metro elevators smelled like urinals, but they've gotten better with that. They have. Not so much in Patterson. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it was just Patterson. Maybe it was just Patterson that was messed up like that. But then we went over to the transportation center, which is the bus depot in Camden. Then the transportation center is, what street is it on in Camden? That's on
Broadway. That's the main strip.
Camden. The main strip in Camden. It's not much bigger than the main strip in Emporia, Virginia. Let me tell you that. It's just a lot more people and a lot dirtier. I don't understand.
Well, let's not talk about the heroin ODs that happened inside the transportation center.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, you want to talk about a dystopian novel. You could start a dystopian novel in the New Jersey transit system. The Camden transportation center was bad. That's where all the buses connect. And then, so this past year, we went to Philadelphia. And we had to catch the train going back and forth to some of the events centered around the DNCCC. Good God, the train station in Philadelphia. So I left. It was like, this is every horror movie I've ever seen involving a public transportation system. And the Philadelphia train system scared me worse than the New York train system. And I don't like riding the train in New York. But I mean, I say all of that to say, I mean, we have, you don't appreciate what you have until you see what other people have, right?
Right.
So then coming back into D.C., I was so thankful for Metro. But seriously, y'all folks who live out in Maryland and Virginia, out in the suburbs, y'all need to shut up and get up off some money. You really do.
That's a real problem.
You really do. You need to stop expecting primarily poor black people in Washington, D.C. to foot the bill. But even the middle class and upper class black folks in D.C. see...
Or the new, more affluent white residents that we're starting to come into the city.
Right. You can't expect us to continue to foot the bill when most of us rely on, as far as public transportation is concerned, is a bus. But if you live out in the suburbs, you need that train. Because the reason you live out in the suburbs, honestly, let's be honest, because y'all want to live next to us. That's why y'all live 2.5 hours outside of D.C., because you don't want to live next to the black people who live up in the hood, eating, going to the curry out, eating the wings and the mambo sauce. You don't want to live next to the folks in the hood playing the go-go all late at night. That's why y'all live out too. That's why y'all make the commute last till 7 or 8 o'clock.
And then what kills me is when we get a little money. See, that's the thing. When we get a little bit of money, and then we start saying, "Well, we want to move out there," then they move out further.
Yeah.
So now I'm seeing commuters all the way down to oh God, what is the name of that county? When we go over the bridge into Virginia, going down 301.
It's not Charles County.
Charles County.
Yes. Okay.
We're going all the way near the bridge, going to Virginia, right? And we got the nerve to see people from down there commuting back and forth to D.C. I said, you know what? That is the reason why some of y'all are looking for other planets to go to. Because when we do finally get reparations and we start getting them, and we start closing that wealth gap, there's going to be a bunch of ass rocket ships.
How can we get to Mars?
Of course, we're just playing around over this.
No, we're not. We ain't playing.
But the thing of it is that you're right. We can't fund the metro down here and give it the money that it needs, because states like Virginia, Maryland, who primarily are the ones who use it the most, are saying that they don't want to pay. But you can't expect to have a phone. Where else in the world? This is what I want to know. Where else in the world can you expect to have this wonderful transportation system that never breaks down, that's never dirty, that's always on time, for free? You don't want to pay for it.
Especially since we do not live in a country where the government finds it beneficial to fully fund a public transportation system for all. See, this is why it bothers me so much when some progressives, and I understand that the issues that we focus on are determined a lot by where we live, what we know, and what we experience. Okay, I get that. But here's my issue with this whole conversation on progressives and progressive issues it's just so frustrating to me. When I talk to progressive white people who live mostly in the suburbs and they don't rely too much on public transportation, they never want to talk about public transportation because it doesn't affect them. But then you want to talk about free college for all, but you don't want to talk about the fact that working black people, working poor people don't have a reliable public transportation system to get them to and from work. I mean, this whole idea of some people's issues being more important and more central to the progressive agenda is bullshit. It's just bullshit, and especially in a place like Washington D.C., where most people, the demographics are left leaning. So you've got a lot of people who you would think we would have a captive audience, but then we have moments like we had yesterday with the All Lives Matter guy, and you hear stuff like that, and it's like, oh yeah, you can sit there and think that, oh, that's just one guy out of 200,000 people, but I saw how people were looking at that group from Black Lives Matter when they were setting up and they were petitioning. I saw how some people were, and there were more than a few white people out there at that climate march who were displeased at them being there and their chanting and their slogans and stuff. Y'all ain't fooling us, man. If our issues, if you can't hear what's important to us and include it in your agenda, then your agenda to us is bullshit. What did we tell you? We're bringing you into the laundry room for black folks. That's how we think. That's how a lot of us think. Oh, you don't want to hear how we feel about certain issues? Then how you feel about your issues doesn't matter to us. That's just one issue. Another issue, and let me make it clear, it's not that these other issues are not important. But how dare you say that we can only focus on getting everybody not to eat meat and that's going to solve the climate problem, but you don't want to focus on, well, instead of focusing on what people do or do not eat, why don't we focus on teaching people how to sustainably farm? Why don't we focus on help advocating for more grocery stores in poor neighborhoods? I mean, if you want to be concerned about what people eat, how about talking to people who live in food deserts?
Yeah, I mean, how about making how about coming up with a plan for bringing whole foods to poor neighborhoods? Or places like, what's the other one? You have Whole Foods.
Trader Joe's is my favorite.
Joe's. Well, I mean, but what I'm saying is having these supermarkets that sell organic and fresh, all the healthier stuff. They don't come to our community. They don't come to our community because it's not profitable for them. But if we had some type of creative politicians, imaginative politicians, who could find a way of giving tax incentives to places like Whole Foods for opening up a store in the 7th Ward or 8th Ward, or Trader Joe's or something like that. It's not that they're afraid to come in because it's unsafe. they're afraid to come in because there's no money.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
like now here, we're sitting around in our neighborhood, we have this big lot that Walmart was supposed to take over, not too far from where we live. And as of today, Walmart pulled out. They were supposed to be on this very large piece of property that the city gave to them for nothing.
For free.
For free. They backed out of it because they felt like they didn't need a store in our neighborhood.
Well, they didn't want to pay $13.50 an hour.
Right, and they didn't want to pay $13.50 an hour because DC had just passed a higher wage law. So, but again, that piece of land is still sitting there with construction equipment, and nothing's being built. And I mean, come on. I mean, Cindy K said Aldi's. We would love to have an Aldi's in our neighborhood.
Man, we love Aldi's.
Right, we would love to have an Aldi's. We would love to have a movie theater in our neighborhood where we don't have to travel outside of our neighborhood. We would love to have these things. But again, it's all about profit. And so when we sit at these climate marches and we go to other things and all we want to do is browbeat people because they have a hamburger, first of all, I mean, that, to me, that is one of the reasons why the progressive movement never gains traction with regular folks. I'm not saying we're not regular folks, but the reason why it's not a great, in religion they call it proselytizing. And it's hard for the progressive movement to proselytize its belief systems because we're too busy being snobby to other people's choices.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. And I was thinking while you were talking, hon, I understand that people are very passionate about veganism and vegetarianism, and I'm not telling you not to be. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't care what you put in your mouth. That's none of my business.
Literally don't care.
I mean,
in your mouth
and I don't,
and
I will say that to be dismissing the fact that you live your beliefs. No, I mean I literally don't care what you put in your mouth. I don't care what it is. Honestly, yes, I'm being naughty, but I mean, but if we're passionate about more responsible management of or more responsible factory farming, then instead of focusing on the small target of getting everybody to stop eating meat, why not focus on the people who are actually causing the problem, who are the factory farmers? Why not turn all of that energy and focus away from getting, slapping a hamburger out of people's hands? Turn all that energy and focus toward the factory farmers who are actually polluting waterways with animal waste. Because you can't tell me that these companies can't figure out how to turn pig waste and cow waste into something productive. We do it with horse manure. I mean, in lean times, if you've ever read like the history of Vietnam during the war, you will hear how some Vietnamese people actually fertilize their rice paddies with their own waste. That's how so we do that with human waste as it is. We process human waste at the waste treatment plants so that we can dispose of it responsibly. It's not perfect. But you can't tell me.
Just taking like they used to do back in the old days and just
dumping it in a pit.
Just shit right in the Thams River.
That's what we're doing. Dumping it in that. How do you pronounce that, George? You know I'm gonna mangle the hell out of that. Is the Thames? Thames. I don't know. The big river in London.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I just feel like instead of us policing people's behavior, us meaning progressives, policing people's behavior. Look, you need to use hemp. You need to be a vegan. You need to drink coconut. And look, if you want to give people suggestions, if people are asking you, I would like to do that, but I don't know how. It seems intimidating to me. Can you tell me what's a small step I can take toward? If you want to help people that way, great, go right ahead. Please do that. Because, I mean...
Oh, it's Thames.
Thames, thank you, George, because you know how bad I am with butchering names. I am so sorry. But, I mean, if people ask you, how can I become a vegetarian, easy steps, that's fine. But to say, it just seems like we push so many people away when we tell people that their contribution to the progressive movement is illegitimate because they still eat meat. When we've got these farmers that are out here who are intentionally polluting the land, not because necessarily that they have so many animals that they're processing, but it's the way they're processing the animals. It's the way they are handling the waste. Why don't we turn their ire toward them instead of policing each other's behavior? That's annoying as hell. Because, see, I look at a country like India, where a majority of the population are actually vegetarians. So, and the United States doesn't have the population density of a country like India. So how is it possible that if everybody in America stopped going to McDonald's, then so much of the climate change issue would be solved? That is, I think it's short-sighted. I think it is narrow-minded. And again, I just think it looks like, it feels like behavior policing. And now that I bring up behavior policing, I got to bring up this other point. Because I hear a lot of progressives talk about how they hate Christianity, how they hate Christians. Can't stand Christians. Christians solved all these problems in the world. Christians have killed more people in the name of Jesus than anybody else. Well, we had 2 world wars that had nothing to do with Jesus, Christianity, or any religion. So it seems to me that Christianity isn't the only thing that can cause people to kill people. I mean, the guy shot and murdered John Lennon because he read Catcher in the Rye.
Had a crush on, what's the name?
Yeah, that was, what's his face, who tried to kill Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you don't like that some Christians behavior police people. I understand that. I understand that you don't like that some Christians have allowed our faith to be co-opted by a political party. But the mistake so many progressives make is believing that all Christians align ourselves with the Republican Party. And we all agree with the bullshit that they do. And the fact of the matter is, all of us don't. I shared a video of our pastor, Reverend Graylin Hagler, doing the introductory word last night. He had Amy Goodman come to our church. It's the second time that Amy Goodman has come to our church on her book tour. Our church is a United Church of Christ congregation. Very socially aware, very racially aware, very focused towards social justice and racial justice denomination, and right. Open. And when we mean social and racial justice and inclusive, we mean we are inclusive of gay and transgender people.
We have a rainbow flag in our church.
This is a rainbow flag in the church sanctuary. One of the ministers is openly gay.
Yes.
One of the choir director, I think, is openly. So I mean, we don't care. But see, those of us who belong to congregations like that, and even if we don't belong to congregations like that, if we don't agree with the white Republican Jesus believers, then we can't get a word in edgewise. We are still looked at as the problem by a whole lot of progressives who think that y'all are better than us ignorant ass Christians because we believe in a make-believe sky god that you think doesn't exist. So you automatically treat us like garbage because of our faith. And somehow, because you think you are more enlightened than we are because you don't believe in any faith, you think that your behavior in behavior policing people for what they eat is somehow any better or any different from people who believe in the white Republican Jesus policing people on who they sleep with. Guess what? It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, not all of us, not every Christian is sacrificing at the altar of Jerry Falwell or Pat Robertson, those types like that.
Right. I mean, it blew my mind when I shared Reverend Hagler's, and I know I have a bias toward our pastor. We both do, because, I mean, this man can tell you stories about, and we do intend to interview him. We will interview him. We're going to try to get him on in the next few months because he's very, very busy. But this man can tell you stories about how when he was a minister up in Boston. He helped organize the hotel workers union, and he had to speak with Whitey Bulger. And Whitey Bulger was basically head of the Irish mob.
Yep, up in Boston.
Up in Boston. Now, this is a guy who organized strikers, a protest at a construction site up in Roxbury, where the construction company wouldn't hire black people in the neighborhood that they were building in. So he organized a bunch of people in the neighborhood, and they chained themselves to a fence until things changed. This is our pastor. This is our faith. We believe that faith without works is dead. And those works do not include telling people who they can and cannot, should and should not sleep with. It certainly doesn't include telling people what they should and should not eat. But our faith does include, the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, which is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But we can't get that out. We can't show you that because some of y'all automatically dismiss us because you think we are science-denying, unbelieving, invisible, imaginary sky god worshiping idiots.
Well, let me ask you a question, though. Well, let me ask the audience a question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is the difference between all of this Christian bashing on the left as opposed to all of the Muslim bashing on the right? I mean, you you got conservatives who are, basically who are the ones being blamed for all of the biases against Muslims, whether they're here or abroad. And and we as progressives, we abhor that kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I mean you shouldn't, bash somebody because they're Muslim or deny them entry based on their religion. But then on the left, it's the same thing done, except it's just done to Christians.
Right.
Right. So the one thing we need to purge is the hypocrisy. We can't point fingers at conservatives who do the Muslim bashing, but yet it's okay to do Christian bashing on the left. And to see that and how could you ignore the Christian allies that we had out there for the climate march?
Right.
How could you ignore that? Our pastor, who has been in the activist circles for decades, well known around the world for his activism. And yet, all of a sudden now, everybody has to, drink out of the chalice of Pat Robertson. You know what I mean? You prick our fingers and all that stuff, So I'm just saying is that we need to, we can't move forward and be the type of movement that we need to be unless we do some self-examination. And one of the things that we as progressives do, we have to purge ourselves of hypocrisy, and we also have to purge ourselves of all this damn self-promotion that we see going on around. Because that's one of the things that we're going to deal with on one of the reasons why we can't get along also. Social media has been a very great tool for us as progressives. It has been a very great tool for us to get a lot of our messages out. But I'm starting to see that it's also starting to turn on a lot of us too, where it's starting to become too many cult of personalities, and that the real progressive message is starting to be lost.
Oh God, that was I think you did that intentionally. But look, okay, here's where the personal story comes in. But I just have to say real quick that Keir made a comment that I have to point out that not only is our congregation inclusive as far as whatever we consider gender to be, but our congregation is also inclusive of non-believers. You don't have to be a believer in anything in particular to come into our church, to be welcomed and welcomed and embraced into our church. That's the point. That's the entire point. So yeah, Keir pointed out that during last night's during Reverend Hagler's word last night before Amy Goodman spoke, he welcomed atheists into the church from the pulpit. So, listen, if y'all can keep holding on to y'all Christian hate all you want to, but you're going to alienate people like, you might not alienate Reverend Hagler because he's pretty tenacious and he's been dealing with this for years, but you will alienate people like me because I'm not putting up with your crap. You're not going to keep telling me I'm stupid because of what I believe. and you don't want to work with me or talk with me or build a relationship with me and see what we can tackle together because you think I'm a moron because I believe in something that you think is ridiculous. No, I'm not signing up for that. All right, so here's
no, and let me add, nor do I need your permission to do what is right.
Praise the Lord, the actual Lord, not the white Republican Jesus Lord, but the actual Lord. I don't need y'all to approve of what I believe.
Right.
Okay, in order for me to fight for what I know is right to fight for, I don't need you to approve. Oh, well, Jacqueline, it's great. You don't believe in Jesus? Well, that's great because I don't want to be infected with that ridiculous Jesus belief. That's cool. I would just take me and my ridiculous Jesus belief and find some people I can work with. Because trust me, this won't be the first time. Will not be the first time I have walked away from a bunch of shady, self-righteous, telling me how to eat, telling me what to believe, so-called liberal, progressive-minded activists. Won't be the first time. So, all right, personal story time. So before we got involved in a particular progressive social media group, we were involved in, after we got married, now we had done stuff individually, Abdus in Camden and me here in D.C., and I can only speak for myself. Abdus has done a lot more than I have as far as working within actual established and I guess formal networks and stuff like that. I've been, involved in protests and workshops and, I've supported organizations through giving and things like that. I've gone to teach-ins and, stuff like that, but I've never really been involved in anything, I guess, grassroots on an organized level. Because like most people, I felt like I didn't know what I could contribute, right? So when we got married, we realized, oh my gosh, we have the same passions. And one of our passions is Pan-Africanism. And we, like a whole lot of black folks who are passionate about Pan-Africanism, we see this need to bring unity to black people, to educate black people, because black people don't know a lot about ourselves. We've been taught in the same education system that y'all been taught in. So we know as little about us as you all know about us.
Well, we've been raised by our kidnappers.
Exactly. We got the worst case of, what's that called? Stockholm Syndrome? Yeah. We got the worst case of Stockholm Syndrome ever. So there's still an enormous need for a widespread, massive level to educate the black community on itself, on black people. But I guess, like most people, you're idealistic and you think, okay, I know other people have tried, but we're going to do it. We're going to make our impact. So we started an organization and we got involved with another organization that had amazing potential. I mean, it was the right time. It was the right group of people. Yes. We had the right response at the Justice or Else rally. Yes, we came out in formation, and Beyonce wasn't the first one to do that. We came out in formation. All looking uniform. People on the street responded to a bunch of black men. Just, tight like that. And seeing the black women supportive, it was perfect. But then we started to notice that some things were not quite right. We started to realize that the leader of the organization never wanted to take direction from anybody else. If anybody else had an idea, he might listen to it, but you never hear about it again.
Very autocratic.
Right. And then we realized, my phone is, that's why. There we go. All right. and then we noticed that he was very autocratic. We noticed that there was a lot of chaos within the ranks. Now, I have to tell you something about me and my husband that a lot of you probably don't know. I am fiercely protective of my husband. Not because he's better than your husband. He probably is. But not because he's better than your husband, not because he's better than anybody else's husband, not because he is perfect, not because he never does anything right, but because he's my husband. So I am not the type of woman who is okay with being in an organization where some other man is going to be telling me what to do. And there might be a situation where there's conflict between this person of authority and my husband. Now, that's just me. I'm not telling you that's how you should operate. I'm just telling you how Jacqueline Luqman operates. Because I'm not having the conversation with that guy about, well, why did you do so and so? You know, I would not have been comfortable with that. Well, he's the leader, so nah, that's not happening in my house. That's just me. So when I saw that kind of rank pulling from the male leadership, that kind of influence that this person in leadership had with a couple of the women, that was another issue. And I'm not going to say it was all his fault, because it wasn't all his fault. Because look, it takes two to tango most of the times. So, and these were grown women, so they knew, but okay. So then there was the issue of money. Now, we would travel. None of us have a whole lot of money. All of us are working people. We're all working class folks. Nobody's rich. So this was during the time of the Baltimore uprising. We're traveling to Baltimore. These people are coming down from New York City. We know they don't have a lot of money. So we're closer. So it takes us 45 minutes and barely a quarter tank of gas to get to Baltimore. So we know it takes them a lot longer. So we're paying for their gas. We're paying for their meals when they come down. We're, giving them some money to get back to deal with the tolls. And we did this a couple of times.
We even gave them money when they wanted to stay at a motel.
Oh, I forgot. We did do that
right.
during the second time.
And this guy he couldn't stay in any hotel. They had to have one with a pool.
I'm sorry, but how are you going to be the leader of a revolution? But you can't stay in a cheap motel unless you have a pool. I understand revolutionaries need rest and relaxation, but that's your requirement. You have to stay in. But when we go to New York City, to the headquarters, to meet with the larger group, we get no hospitality. We are told, my husband and his wife now, are told that the hotel we can stay in a hotel that's close, but, I wouldn't suggest that you leave your luggage there. Why the hell would you tell a man that he and his wife can stay in a hotel that isn't safe for their luggage? What kind of crap is that? So we see this in this organization. We don't get any kind of hospitality. Nobody pays for our meals. Every time we met with these people, whether it was in New York, whether it was here in D.C., whether it was Baltimore, they never paid for a meal, because that's the kind of people we are. Because we know that they were struggling financially a little bit more than we were. We're like, that's okay. We're doing this for the movement.
We were the only ones paying our dues.
Then we find out that we were the only people paying our doggone dues. Yeah. And then we were asked to pay for other people to cover. So there was all this shadiness in this Black Power Pan-Africanist movement. So I'm trying to tell you guys this to give you an example. Look, it's not just well-meaning liberal white progressives. People in general have this ridiculous problem. But it's this kind of stuff that are the reasons why movements don't get off the ground. It's this kind of bullshit that we allow that continues to derail movements. Yep. Because we tried our best to keep this group together. We tried talking. We had a formal meeting. We called a formal meeting for the entire group here in this house, in our basement. Had a bunch of brothers and sisters in the basement, hashing it out, chopping it up, trying to get to this dude actually told people that, what did he say to the other man? I forgot what he said to the other guy who was
he was
married.
saying that, what you have to do with your family doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not Martin. You're not Malcolm. You can't. You're not my husband. You're not going to come into my house and tell my husband that what he does with me doesn't matter because you want what you want done. No, you're not. Nuh-uh. Your feet will never be under the table in this house again. And they weren't.
And he wasn't even mature enough. I know, we're spending a little time on this, but it's just the point. He wasn't even mature enough to even accept the criticism because nobody wanted to leave at the time. We just wanted to express how we felt. Mm-hmm. And because he wasn't mature enough to understand, and it basically goes back to how we started the show about grievances in the progressive movement not being taken seriously. Mm-hmm. It's the same way here. I mean, we expressed how we felt. And it was, you guys are against me. And, then he started playing the Christ martyrdom, and he's Muslim, by the way. But he's sitting up here talking about, they're nailing me to the cross. And, oh my God, I feel like how Christ feels. And then you go on his Facebook page, and it's all of this stuff where it's like, the enemies are coming over the mountain, and I see the dust coming from the hooves. Dust from the horses. As they come fast to me, but I will remain strong. Man, knock it off. Man. Knock it off, man. And but getting back to what we were talking about, we bring that up to say that even within this whole progressive movement, there has to be respect. And that's the problem. There's not a lot of respect. I mean, we got to respect each other, man. Mm-hmm. We really have to respect each other. And stop looking at other folks in the progressive movement, especially black people and brown people, as being your props.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it might sound kind of harsh, but we're tired of being seen as that. We're tired of well-meaning white folks coming into town with their issues, and all of a sudden now you want numbers, you want allies, and then we're just your props. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's like, okay, see y'all, bye. We're still left with all of the muck and, with all of the stuff that we're trying to get done, mm-hmm. but nobody's backing us.
Right. And then on top of that, then on top of being used as a prop and being used as a pack horse to prop you up, then you treat us like garbage, and then you expect us not to give a shit. That blows my mind. Now, when we left the Pan-Africanists, when we left the Pan-Africanist self-proclaimed martyr, because we eventually did leave that group. We hung on for as long as we could. We left that group of folks, and it is what it is. And we got accused of sabotaging them, of being agents, as in like an FBI agent, as in like an infiltrator from the government. That's something that black people in the Pan-Africanist Black Power movement always say when they hate another black person. Yeah. They always claim you to be a spy when you call them on their bull. You're always an agent. So we were agents. Yeah, we were agents. We were in it for ourselves. Oh, we got called all kinds of names by these people on social media.
They offended us.
Blocked us. Had all these people saying all kinds of hateful crap about us. So, we licked our wounds and we were like, okay, that's fine. Kira's right. It sounds familiar because I'm going right there. Yeah. Now, my husband, and I know that many of you have seen me. You've been wondering, where have you been? Since you saw me on the other social media site. And I don't like to talk about that time period because there was another one of those instances that showed me that we got serious problems in the progressive movement. I mean, I do mean deadly serious problems. Because when you have a situation where you have people who, please understand, let me make something real clear. And I'm not ashamed of this. I'm not shy. Real progressives exists the way it does today because of the work that me and a bunch of other people did behind the scenes to grow it this big. That's just the truth. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I'm just telling you the truth. So for us to do that work, we went to Philadelphia on our own dime because we believed in the work. We didn't ask for any money, but it would have been nice for somebody to say, hey, I know you guys put out all this money for all this work that you did out there in 100-degree heat. It wasn't just me. It was other people too. Y'all remember some of those streams. On our own dime.
That's right.
Nobody ever offered us anything. We didn't ask, but it would have been polite to just say, look, once we started making some money off it would have been nice if somebody had said, thank you guys for here's, $25, $50, anything. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, then there are all these really hateful behaviors that were exhibited towards individual people. Not out in the open, never in public, no, because there's this public perception that people have to present in order to have people believe that they are acceptable and they can be the leaders within the movement, because
right.
See, they got to have the attention. But then behind the scenes, they're treating people like absolute garbage. And you don't want to believe that people are intentionally being that way. So for a while, it's like, okay, we're all under stress. We're all trying to get this out. And remember, this was around the time of the primary, so we're all very emotional. But at the same time, we're all working jobs, regular jobs. Then on top of that, we're up until 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, some of us, scheduling posts, sharing videos, because we're trying to grow the page. Because that was our marching orders. We got to grow the page. We need to have something posted every hour. We need to share to 50 groups. We need to do so we're trying to do it. We're trying to do it because we believe in the mission, and we're not really seeing that there's something wrong with the marching orders, and there's something not quite right with the person who's giving them. So then you start to see people push back a little bit on the breakneck pace. Like, look, man, I understand we need to grow the page, but seriously, I can't schedule every hour. This is unreasonable. I can't. So then you see the attitude come out. Then you see the martyrdom come out.
Right.
Listen, I don't agree that, and then you try to be diplomatic in the meetings, behind the scenes now. You try to be diplomatic, out in the front, it's all very polished. And it's all very about the progressive message. And, we've got our black activists in here to talk about black issues. I wasn't the first one, and I didn't find that out until I left. But we've got our black activists in here to cover black issues.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get a gay activist or a transgendered activist to cover transgender or gay issues. Two separate things, but you know what I mean. We have to have women live streaming to appeal to the women. All optics, all covering the bases, checking off the progressive boxes, but behind the scenes, just cracking the whip unreasonably. And when somebody says, listen, there's a better way to do this, we should scale back, people are really stressed out because we can't keep going at this pace. Then we become a martyr. Oh, people are kicking my back in. Oh, people are kneecapping me. Oh, you're just against me.
Right, yep.
And then...
And let's not talk about the disrespect for family time. All of those things.
Calling people... I'm trying not to, I'm sorry. Calling people during dinner time and then getting offended when people don't answer your call. You can call me at 6, 7 o'clock. And then when I text you, I'll call you back. We're having dinner, but I don't call you back in 30 minutes. Then you start talking about me like a dog. This kind of stuff went on for months. And I was like, okay, we're all under stress and we've got our personal stresses going on. It'll pass once this election is over with and we get over all this emotion. But it didn't. And then you see all of the bad behavior, the bad interactions with other people, the mistreatment of other people. And then I realized, if this is the kind of behavior we will accept from people who are allegedly leaders in the progressive movement, if we make excuses for those people, the reason I left was because I couldn't make excuses for the way he treated other people.
Right.
That's why I left. It wasn't because I had a problem with any of the messaging or what they were doing was great. But I can't sit by and watch you mistreat people who are working their asses off for you.
Right.
I can't do it because I won't have somebody do it to me. So when I stand up for myself and I get talked about like a dog, I find out that people are saying about me that he's saying to people about me, oh, she thinks she's a prima donna. Well, I do think I'm hot shit because I am, because God made me that. You don't have to agree with that or not. I don't need your permission to feel fabulous about myself. I'm sorry if I threatened you. Actually, I'm not. But see, I'm not intimidated by whatever knowledge other people think they have, and I don't care who those people are. But what I can't do, if I call myself a child of God, and a woman, and a human being, and a strong black woman on top of that, what I'm not going to do is stand by and continue to align myself with somebody who treats people like shit.
That's right. In
private, and then goes out in public and props himself up as this bastion of progressive leadership. No, fuck you. And I mean that. So I don't understand why there are people within the progressive community who know what has gone on. And everybody is I get that people are like, well, no, we don't want to fight and we need to be unified. No, unity at what cost? Are you just being unified on the surface? Or are you really allowing people to abuse other people in private, and then in public you're like, oh, well, we're all unified? How does that work? How are you even legitimate as a movement when you allow people to mistreat and I understand there are no like punitive measures that we can take, to excommunicate people from the progressive movement, but I'll be damned if I'm going to support you.
Right.
I'll be damned if I will ever be seen in public with you. See, this is why, and I know maybe some people are like, oh my God, that's so extreme. That's so petty. When I see that you mistreat other people, when I see how horribly other people are mistreated and how easy it is for people to mistreat another human being, I don't think it's petty for me not to want to share space with that person. I don't want to be associated with that person. I don't want people to think that I am okay in any way whatsoever with that person and what that person does and stands for. Because see, what you do in public, that's all fine, good, and dandy. But if I find out that you are abusive to people in private, that negates whatever it is you do in public. So I have a really hard time. I have a hard time rocking with progressives who, when they hear about people who have been impacted, not just by this particular group of people or person, but by other people in the movement who have mistreated people and mismanaged funds or done really harmful things. How are y'all okay with that? But then you want to run around and behavior police people on what they eat. Let me get this straight. Wait, hold on. Let me get this shit straight. You want to tell people what they can and cannot, should and should not eat, but you don't want to call people on the fact that they call women filthy names behind their backs. Is that right? Do I have that right? Because if that's true, then I can't rock with you either. And I'm cool with that.
And Kier Hardy said that, Jackie, that's integrity. You got it in truckloads. Thank you, George.
I mean, I don't. Let me look at the comments. I'm not answering your question, Suzanne. I answer your question later. Suzanne is really starting to try to stop. So I try to keep it at the issue level. Because I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that it's not personal. Yeah, it is personal because I was hurt. I was absolutely hurt on a personal level. All of the work we put in. I'm dragging my fat behind in this 103-degree heat up in Philadelphia, me and my husband.
And I'm playing Uber.
He's playing Uber to people. I mean, I don't even think we really knew. This was the first time we met people that we worked with on the team. We were all very new. None of us had done that kind of thing before. I had never live streamed before in my entire life. I didn't know how it worked.
And I was like a pack mule. I would just get frustrated. And Jackie was like, come on, we got to go along here. I would just sit my ass down. I am not moving. I'm finding me a nice shaded tree and I'm sitting my ass down. When y'all do what y'all got to do, you come back and get me. But that's how I was acting.
And that was so funny because that was his protest. I would be like, well, so-and-so called and said that we have to go and do. He would be like, well, I'm going to be right here under this tree then. You come on back over here when y'all done doing what he tell you to do. Now, this was after. Now I am feeling a little bit petty, so I'm going to stop. But this was after I had communicated, listen, we are trying to leave because the roll call is in, the vote is done, it's over with now, it's in the history books, this shit show is done. We're trying to get, we got to go visit my husband's father over in Camden, so we're trying to leave, but it's like, no, I need you to get this and I need you to get that, and it's like, you don't respect the time that I have to spend with my family. So I mean, there's all this hypocrisy, and we're protecting a bunch of people in the progressive movement who don't deserve to be protected, honestly.
If I could interject,
yes.
Suzanne made a good point. She said we need truth talkers, and we cannot allow the prods to be contaminated by ugly, hateful peeps.
That's exactly. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, and she says, in short, self-respect is so important. We push ourselves when others push us, but that never leads to a good place.
Yeah, I mean, thank y'all very much. I mean, and I've been, y'all know how long I've been separated from those people. And I know some people are going to be like, oh my God, I didn't know Jack. And somebody actually said this to me when I posted something about something else. And somebody said to me, oh my God, Jackie, I thought you were better than that. Let me tell you what that sounds like to me. Let me tell you why I hate for people to say that shit. Let me tell you what that sounds like. People say that to you after somebody has treated you like absolute garbage, and you have the nerve to defend yourself and say to that person who treated you like shit, I'm not taking that shit from you. You're full of shit, and I'm not taking it from you, and if you do it again, I'm going to kick your ass. See, when you respond to people with the level of aggression that lets them know I am not the one to be messed with, oh, then everybody wants to tell you, oh, you need to be better than that. Better than what? Mm-hmm. Better than what? I need to be better than somebody who stands up for myself? Oh, I never need to be better than that. I am always going to stand up for myself. I tell you what, why don't you tell the person who's treating people like garbage that they need to be better than that? Because see, people who tell those on the receiving end of bad treatment that they need to respond better than that, they never tell the people who are actually misbehaving and maltreating people that they need to be better than that. So you go tell those people
right.
that they need to be better than that. Then maybe you wouldn't have to worry about how I respond. So, look, I didn't tell you all of this stuff to for you to take sides. I don't care. I don't really care what side you take. You take whatever side you feel like. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. I'm just telling you why you will never ever see anything from certain groups of people on this page, or on Brick by Brick for that matter. That's why you will never see me personally put anything from our page on theirs. If somebody puts something on there, that's fine. I can't control what other people do. But me, no. I can't associate myself with people who I know have no respect for other people. How in the world can you call yourself a progressive and you are allegedly fighting for the improvement of all mankind when you can't treat the person who you have the most intimate contact with on a daily basis with respect? You can't. And I'm not going to cover that up. not for the movement, not for Bernie Sanders. I ain't going to do it for Jesus. I'm not going to do it for you. So, progressives, listen, we need to stop with the hero worship just because somebody's got a good message. You know what?
Hitler had a good message too.
Well, but then, okay, that's true. But
to certain people he did.
That's true. To certain people he did have. Hitler sent his whole country on vacation. His message was so good.
Yep.
He actually did that. Did you know that? He sent his whole country on a paid vacation because, I'm about to murder 6 million people. I need y'all to be in the right frame of mind.
I need y'all to get rested. You got to be well rested because I'm about to ready to take over the world. I'm
about to wreak some serious havoc, so I need you all. I need to build up a bank of goodwill among y'all so y'all can excuse a whole lot of shit I'm about to do. So I need to make myself the good guy in you guys' sight from the beginning, so it'll take you a long time to question the stuff that I'm about to do. Another place you see that where people will excuse the horrendous behaviors of the messenger because they think the message is so great is in, where else? Churches. I don't get this, how progressives can be so just anti-religion and anti-Christianity, and one of the first things some progressives bring up is, well, look at all of the sex abuse scandals in the church, and look at all of the infidelity, and look at how people are being abused. You can see that, and you can have a problem with the message that those people are preaching, but you don't have a problem with folks in the progressive movement treating people like garbage, because their message is way more important than their personal behavior. These are some of the reasons why the progressive movement hasn't gotten farther than it has.
And you know what? Just to repeat a line I heard on Boardwalk Empire, you're wasting an old man's time. You know what I mean? Because, if we can't, come on, man. Those of us who are middle-aged and look, we got fewer days ahead than we left behind, And what I'm saying is the fact that we can't constantly keep, if we're trying to move this country forward, trying to create a better union, as our founders intended, as the country's founders intended. Come on, man. We have to really have this honest talk with ourselves. We have to really push ourselves. And we really have to get our shit together. We really do. And stop riding the rails of elitism. That's what we need to stop doing. Riding the rails of elitism, riding the rails of I'm better than you, and riding the rails of all this other kind of stuff, as opposed to what we're supposed to do, throw our hats in with those who are all being screwed by the 1%. And that includes all of us, no matter what color you are, where you're from, what your gender is, what your sexuality is. If you're not part of that 1%, then you're part of the other group. And that means we need to start acting like we're part of the other group. And stop with this bull crap, man, of all this elitism that I see that's going around within the progressive movement. Because you are wasting an old man's time. I want to see some change, man, for real.
Yeah, exactly. And we got 4 minutes left. I had secretly in my head said that if we go over, we'd go over to like the 30 minutes and then we cut it off there. Because otherwise, after that, we're just babbling. But I want to see change too, but we cannot change anything. We can't change anything if we continue to accept corruption on a personal level. And I'm not saying that people need to be perfect. That's impossible. Nobody's perfect. I am going to screw a bunch of stuff up. We'll continue to screw stuff up. But damn it to hell, man, the day that I mistreat somebody, the day that I abuse someone and expect people to excuse it because I'm on Coffee Current Events and Politics, or because I'm on Brick by Brick, or because I do this, the day I say anything like that, I invite you all to cuss me out with every kind of cuss word you can find. Nobody should be allowed to mistreat other people. Nobody should be allowed to behavior police other people and tell them that they're not contributing to the revolution because they're not doing what I think is most important. No, we've got to fight each other's battles, and we got to fight the right people. The people we're fighting against are the corporations, the politicians who are advancing this neoliberal agenda. The enemy is neoliberalism and the people who believe it and who are enacting economic policies that we are living under. As much as I would love to make a bunch of money off these live streams, I am not for letting people get away with abusing people we're supposed to be in this fight with just because they're popular. We got to stop this cult of personality in the progressive movement. Whether you are still bashing Bernie Sanders because he supported Hillary Clinton, or you are letting a bunch of internet activists get away with a whole bunch of shit because you like the way they live stream, we got to stop that. And if you don't, that's okay. Just understand that if you're going to stand with them, you're going to be standing with them by yourself. So, that's all we got. I see that Kat came in and she said that our historian is angry. No, just needed to get some stuff off my chest. We're going to go have a snack now, have some cake and ice cream. Thank you all for tuning in today. Please watch this video. For those of you who are coming in on the end, this video will obviously be available to watch. Lots of cussing, so not safe for work. Don't watch it at work. Please don't. Without your headphones on. Don't want you to lose your job. May Day strike is tomorrow. I have to go to work. Oh, that's another thing we didn't even talk about. What's wrong with y'all progressives shaming other progressives who can't afford not to go to work? Man, kiss me. Y'all gonna pay my mortgage? So I can't take a day off work because of the May Day strike? I can't afford to give up a vacation day, and you don't think I'm progressive enough? You gonna pay this mortgage? You gonna pay for our vacation? You gonna fill in for me when I don't have any more vacation days? When I need a day off to spend with, a weekend off, a week to spend with my husband, so we can? You gonna do that? You're not? Then shut up about why I can't take a day off work. So I won't be able to take a whole day off tomorrow, but I do hope to be down at the May Day strike activities at some point tomorrow. So I'll try to bring you some coverage from that event. Please like this page at the end of this video. Click on notifications so you receive live notifications. Share this video, and remember that on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. over on Brick by Brick with Jacqueline Lukeman, we are going to continue our discussion about the real enemy of the progressive movement, and that is neoliberalism. We're going to start to talk about the relevance of the Chicago Boys in the actions that happened in Chile, and why those actions are important to today. So thanks y'all for watching. Have a great week and be good to each other, please.